How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today as I get to announce 4 brand new Marvel Omnis. So let's go ahead and get started. This video is sponsored by Marvel Comics, so thank you so much to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advance notice of these 4 Omnis coming out in May and June. Now, before I go any further, please don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. And a big thank you to all you wonderful people that have shared our videos. Let others know where you get your breaking news in the Marvel Collected Editions world. Alright, we don't have any time to waste. We got 4 Omnis to talk about. So, let's go ahead and talk about the one in June. It's a follow-up omnibus to Volume 1 that was announced, I think, earlier this year? Yeah, so let's talk about this one. SpiderMan by Michelinie and Bagley Omnibus Volume 2. Now we get to find out exactly what's going to be collected in here. But before I do, let's check out our standard edition cover. And this standard edition cover is supplied by Mark Bagley, who of course was the series artist on the book, hence the title. And we do have a variant cover, but first let's talk about the contents of the book, because I know it's one that people have been asking about. And in here, you are going to find Amazing Spider-Man 376 to 393, Amazing Spider-Man Annual 27 and 28, Web of Spider-Man 101 to 103, 112, Spider-Man 35 to 37, 45, Spectacular Spider-Man 201 to 203, and 211, Amazing Spider-Man Ashcan Edition number 1, and Venom Lethal Protector 1 through 6, and material from Spider-Man Unlimited 1 and 2. So now we have our answer as to what exactly is collected in here. And before I talk about the next cover and what some of these stories are, this here has the Maximum Carnage stuff. So you are going to have the characters of Shriek and Carry On. You're going to have the character of the Chameleon show up through here. Of course, the showdown with the Hulk, who's a different, bigger Hulk this time around. The Vulture shows up through here. And, of course, Carnage. And when I said that this has Maximum Carnage, it has all of Maximum Carnage. And also the return of 2 characters. Long-forgotten characters that we thought were dead are in this particular omnibus. Now, let's take a look at the direct market cover. And this direct market cover is supplied by also Mark Bagley, of course. So I mentioned that this collected Maximum Carnage fully, and it also collects the Pursuit storyline fully, the one that crossed over with Web of Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man and Adjectiveless Spider-Man. Now, where does this go in the reading order of Spidey and Omnibus format? Well, of course, right after Spider-Man by Michelinie and Bagley Omnibus Volume 1, and lines up perfectly right next to the Clone Saga Omnibus Volume 1. So this ends with issue of Amazing Spider-Man 393, but also the Clone Saga begins with issue 394. So perfectly. Also collected in here is the Venom Lethal Protector, the 6-issue miniseries. That and Maximum Carnage were collected in the Spider-Man vs. Venom Omnibus. So for people wondering if they were going to collect the Maximum Carnage series, like the whole 14-part event here, even the Spider-Man Unlimited issues, they are all in here. And that closes that particular omnibus of Michelinie and Bagley. Now we need the post Ben Reilly omnibus stuff. But we got to keep going. We got 3 books that are coming out in July, and I want to talk about the first one. This one is also a continuation of a book I've already done an overview of, and my favorite run on Captain America. So it brings me absolute pleasure to get to announce Captain America by Mark Gruenwald Omnibus Volume 2. That's right, we are continuing this era of Captain America. Now, let's talk about... No, let's not talk about what's collected in here. Let's talk about the standard edition cover first. Now, the standard edition cover is supplied by Ron Lim, and it is a very iconic cover inked by Jim Lee. Now, what is collected in this particular omnibus? Here we have Captain America 351 to 386, Captain America Annuals 9 and 10, Adventures of Captain America 1 through 4, and material from Daredevil Annual number 7, Punisher Annual number 4, and that is what's collected in this particular omnibus. So it is a continuation of Volume 1. So you're going to have the Streets of Poison storyline in here, and some of the the Bloodstone story in here. You do have the Acts of Vengeance storyline, which is Magneto coming into this particular story. But let's take a look at our direct market cover. And this direct market cover is supplied by Ron Lim and features the characters of the Serpent Society, who of course were a big part of Mark Gruenwald's run on Captain America. Now I mentioned Ron Lim and of course Mark Gruenwald, but in here you are going to find the artwork of Kieran Dwyer and Al Milgrom, Mark Bright, and Rich Buckler, just to name a few of the creators. You still have the character of U.S. Agent playing a part in this. Diamondback plays a bigger and bigger part through here. You have the team up with Nick Fury and Baron Zemo coming back. Of course, what is a Captain America story without the Red Skull? You do have the storyline in here with Daredevil and Black Widow. And of course, there's a big war going on between Red Skull and Kingpin, and that's all I will say about it. You are in for a treat if you've never gotten around to reading these particular issues. But this takes us all the way to issue 386. It's going to be a big book, and I can't wait. All right, let's talk about the next book that is coming out in July. When I was doing my overview of this particular omnibus, I mentioned, there is enough material for a companion. It's not a companion, but coming out in July, or it's not called a companion, but you'll see what I mean here. The New Warriors, Nova and Night Thrasher Omnibus. That's right, there was enough material, and I'll explain what this all is, that was not really collected in the Omnibus of New Warriors 1, 2, and 3. So, let's talk about the Standard Edition cover first. And the Standard Edition cover is supplied by Chris Marion, who was the series artist on Nova. And it features Firestar and, of course, Night Thrasher. Now, what is collected in this particular omnibus? In this omnibus, we have Night Thrasher number 1, the Beast Story, 2 through 10, 13 through 21, Nova 1 through 5, 8 through 16, Fantastic Four 356, Amazing Spider-Man 351 to 358, Darkhawk 26 and 27, the A stories and 28 through 29, Web of Spider-Man 109, just the A story, and Iron Man 303, Spider-Man Friends and Enemies 1 through 4, and Ultra Girl 1 through 3. So this makes for a really interesting collection. It is literally a companion because, as you can probably see from the content, it is missing the crossover with the New Warriors time and time again, which wraps up the series of Fabian Niciesa's run. But Fabian Niciesa does kickstart these series right here of Nova and of Night Thrasher. And of course, working with Chris Marion. And on Night Thrasher, he was with Javier Saltares, working on that particular book. Of course, some people probably know from the pages of Ghost Rider. So, let's take a look at our direct market cover. And our direct market cover is supplied by Mark Bagley, who of course helped launch the New Warriors with Fabian Niciesa. So what about all these other series in here? Well, this is pretty much any time the New Warriors would team up with Spider-Man. That is the Round Robin storyline collected in here. The issues with Darkhawk, that has been collected before, by the way, in the Amazing Spider-Man, Michelinie and Bagley Omnibus, and also in New Warrior. So I find it interesting that it is also collected in here. You do have Darkhawk, the team up there. You have the Web of Spider-Man story, where he teams up with Night Thrasher. Iron Man, where I think he was fighting Thunderstrike during that time. Spider-Man Friends and Enemies is one that I don't think has ever been collected in omnibus format. And it makes for an interesting series because it has the characters of Nova, but also Speedball and Darkhawk from the New Warriors, and teaming up against other metahumans. Now, the one that I find really interesting is the Ultra Girl miniseries. That is the story by Barbara Kessel and Leonard Kirk, and it does feature Nova and Firestar and Speedball and Rage and Justice. So she does try to join the New Warriors, but I find it interesting that that is collected in here. Well, I guess because Nova does make an appearance in that particular book. This was Namorita, and then of course Night Thrasher. So that does leave enough for more of the New Warriors content. I mean, there were other series that the New Warriors were in, and actually they tried it three more times after this. So maybe one day. And then, of course, the Nova series by Eric Larson later on. So there is enough material for more New Warriors, and that just makes me so happy. All right, let's talk about the last book in July. Every time I do these announcements, from time to time, I will see this book. Where's this book at? Where's this book? And for the last 5 years since I've been making these announcements, there's not a week that goes by that I'm not asked about this particular book. Ever since Tiger Eye started the poll for the most wanted Marvel Omnibus, this book at least makes it in the top 5 every year. So it is finally coming out. It is my absolute pleasure to get to announce Spectacular Spider-Man by Dematteis and Buscema Omnibus. Finally, after all these years, coming out. So let's take a look at our standard edition cover. And the standard edition cover is supplied by our pal Sal Buscema. And of course, it is the iconic cover to issue 200. And man, that issue, Best of Enemies, one of the best. This whole run is just stellar. So let's talk about what is collected in this particular omnibus. In here, you're going to find Spectacular Spider-Man 178 to 216, Spectacular Spider-Man 12 through 14, and Amazing Spider-Man Soul of the Hunter #1. So I did announce the Web of Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1. That will have Kraven's Last Hunt complete, so that is not collected in here. As a matter of fact, this is towards the later part of the Spectacular Spider-Man. So I'll talk a little bit about that here in a second, but first let's take a look at our direct market cover. And this direct market cover is supplied by Sal Buscema. When you have a book by Dematteis and Buscema, you go and use the Sal Buscema cover. Now, what is going on in this book? What is this? How does this tie into the Spectacular Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1? This, of course, takes place later on. It also has the Soul of the Hunter with artwork by Mike Zeck reuniting the team of Kraven's Last Hunt. But this is towards the last part of Spectacular Spider-Man. Now, Spectacular Spider-Man did continue for years after J.M. Dematteis left the book. J.M. Dematteis went on to write Amazing Spider-Man after this. But if you look at this leads directly into the Clone Saga. So the issue that is collected in here, 216, by Dematteis, leads into Spectacular Spider-Man 217, which is part of Clone Saga Omnibus Volume 1, and it's that power and responsibility. In here, you're going to see not just the Green Goblin, but also Rhino, Tombstone making a return through here. This doesn't collect the Maximum Carnage fully, but that is in the Spider-Man by Michelinie and Bagley. The X-Men make an appearance through here. Vermin makes a return, so does Puma. Vulture making a return. The Frogmen are in here, but it is mainly this huge story that leads up to issue 200, and that is the Green Goblin. Oh, and it's such an amazing story, and not to be missed. And for people that have been asking about this particular book, there's a reason why they've been asking about this book. The Child Within storyline alone is one of my favorites. It's one of my wife's favorite runs. So I'm glad that it is finally coming out in July. And those are your 4 announcements for this time around. Please, in the comments down below, don't forget to write which book you're most interested in, which covers you're going to get, what other titles you want to see collected in omnibus format. But that's it, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Make mine Marvel.